Call your sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you sponsor. Call you.
Thank you. So yeah, if you have questions, experience, strength, and hope around this, please send us an email and we will reply, unlike Lauren at NPR New Hampshire, to my really well thought out and crafted response.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, I think that, I think reporters like that, I'd like to think that they take responsibility for the accuracy of what they are reporting. So I'd be interested to see if there is a reply at some point, hopefully.
Well, and also I do have to tell myself that, as I mentioned in our sponsorship episode, I did, while I was judging all of these men, that by this time I had like 3 or 4 years and I'd watched the pattern and seen the men. While I was judging them for preying on these newcomer women, I also was going out with the hot guy that just walked in the room and had 4 days and saying, hey, let's go play pool. Let's go grab a bite to eat at Chili's, and mainly because I just liked being around people my age.
Yep.
And it was a new person and I did like male attention, but I wasn't going into it like, I'm going to sleep with you. I was going into it like, you might be my husband. Let's see.
Yeah.
Just how I approach things.
And so how did that all pan out?
The sponsor fired me for sleeping with newcomers, and I got a new sponsor, and I was sitting on the steps with a guy, and he said, I've been around 8 years. And because I hadn't relapsed, I thought I've been around 8 years meant you had 8 years. I have a question for you, Sam. Did you know that I've been around 8 years is code for I have 2 months recovering from heroin?
I actually did not know that.
Yeah. Turns out I didn't know that either. Yeah. And by the time I realized what we were dealing with, I was already head over heels in love with this newcomer that was stalking me. And I was like, that was my love language back then. Stalking was like...
Stalk around.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, exactly. It was like, oh, stop, don't stop. I would walk out of meetings and there'd be a note in my car and I'm like, oh, this is the best.
True love.
Exactly. And then we talked about that in the sponsorship episode. So go check that out for the results. But I did get reprimanded for it. I did change my behavior around it. But I also, at one point, it was boy meets girl across AA University, and there was some love there,
Yeah. Part of me wishes that this... Yeah, I haven't been on the other side of it. I've only been on the one side, but I don't even know if it's really 13 step in the sense that it was... He had not exhibited this type of behavior elsewhere. And it was, we ended up in a 2-year committed relationship and then it kind of fell apart. There's that part in 12 that talks about boy meets boy on AA campus, and they should be solid and not have something about emotional deformities or something to rear their lovely head. And that's kind of what happened, is that he had, I think, about a year, and I had between 3 and 6 months at that point. And then I moved in after the first date, and we're together for 2 years. And what worked is that my sponsor had given some parameters around the relationship, as to not hold hands and sit next to each other in meetings, as to make us unapproachable, and to have our own separate kind of meetings and home group and commitments, and not make it our program. And it's because of having those boundaries that we're both still here. At least I'd like to think that that's part of the reason why. But
I
Yeah,
think
that was.
yeah, sorry, I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I think that's a really good point because I do not consider what you're speaking about to be 13th step. And it is, to me, it's a pattern of behavior from these predatory people. And there was another guy at my home group when I had around that same amount of time, 3 or 4 years, who I felt like I needed to warn people, the young women that walked in I was sponsoring, I felt like I needed to warn them about Brian. Because Brian was going to be my Carl. He was going to invite them over and to hang out with the dog and to have pizza. And he would draw them a bath. He would draw them a bath. Okay. And, then sleep with these people. And what I realized was the minute I said, hey, stay away from Brian, Brian became like Fonzie on Happy Days in the leather jacket. Brian, who was a total dweeb, became so cool and a rebellion. And I was actually like a moth to a flame, making them run to Brian. Like, ooh. And the same thing had happened to me. I had a girl, this is so funny. At my midnight meeting, this girl ran up to me and was like, listen, stay away from Jimmy. Jimmy's gonna get you. Like, he got me. And this girl was like 22, redheaded, voluptuous, just gorgeous, right? So I'm like, okay, thanks. The next meeting, I'm showing up in short shorts and my blouse cut down to here going, where's Jimmy? Right? I see Jimmy. He's like 70 with 4 teeth. And I'm like, ooh. Don't worry about me and Jimmy, okay, lady? So anyways, that's what I was doing when I would say, stay away from Brian. So then I started telling the girls that I was working with, like, hey, you should go ask Brian about that. And they're like, ooh, no. I ruined all of his mojo by going, run directly towards the thing.
I love that. It's for me, it's the spiritual law of what I resist will persist.
Exactly. And it works so well with sponsorship, when I have the person that calls me up and is like, I really want to see this married man. And I'm like, oh, now I just go, okay, I think that's a great idea. And they're like, what? You shouldn't say that. And I'm like, all right. They're like, I shouldn't see him. And I was like, okay, don't. Like, I'm not invested. I'm here if you want to stay sober, great. And I do say that to girls who are going to date in the first year. I'm like, you're absolutely allowed to date in the first year. I would never withhold that from you as long as you stay sober. And for some reason, they're like, their minds are like, okay, I can date, but I have to stay sober. And they absolutely follow it.
Do you ever give the caveat of like, there could potentially be consequences?
I share my experience, strength, and hope.
Yeah.
That's it. I share my experience, strength, and hope with Carl. I share my experience, strength, and hope with Brian. And, I let them know that predators are a thing. Yeah. And, go out there with your eyes open. And if you want to get laid, they will be there.
Are they still around?
1,000,000%. And they're the ones that still, even after Me Too, are hugging, insistent upon the hugging. I went to a meeting the other day and there was a man who's like, honestly, like 6'4", 6'5", and 60 something years old, who wears tank tops and has so much hair and is so sweaty. And he's like, Misty, give me a hug. No. I will, my face will be in your armpit. And that's disgusting because there's not even material in between you and me. No, thank you. I will not hug you. Go hug your wife.
Oh my goodness. That is hilarious. I kind of am totally envisioning this person. I don't think I've encountered this same person, but I think I've encountered someone like this person. And I almost am thinking, gosh, does every coast or every meeting have one of these people? Because
1,000,000%. Yes.
Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, so we're coming up on our final 5. And do you want to give a question? Do you want me to give a question?
Your question.
Huh?
Your question.
Me. My question. Okay, so what am I going to ask? Oh, okay, I'm going to ask this, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. What is something that, if you could turn back time, what is something that you would do differently?
If I could turn back time. No extra charge for the fabulous singing. That's a great question. Basically under the category of regrets, right? How would I do it differently walking in the rooms? I that is a really good question. I don't know. All I know is I was afraid of my own shadow when I walked in the rooms, and I was trying very hard to hide that from everyone, and I was terrified because basically drinking and drugging were my safety blanket. They were my binky, and they're how I was surviving in the world. But they were causing me so much harm and pain that I was needing to do something different. And I just felt completely naked and raw and shaking when I walked in the rooms. And the only thing I wish I could tell myself is be kind and loving with yourself, and no one here ultimately has your answers.
I really, really identify with that. Like I've been so guarded, I still can be guarded, it's all okay and it's safe. And with that is to share more vulnerably and more openly where I felt warm.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Like, you can't fuck it up. That's what nobody tells you.
Yeah.
You can't fuck it up. If you just walk in the rooms and just, I don't know, you just can't fuck it up.
Yeah. I'll be contacted.
You'll be contacted?
I'll be contacted.
By aliens? Okay.
Buzz, I will be contacted. I'll hear what I need to hear. I just need to show up ultimately.
Right. Suit up, show up, do the steps, be true to yourself, be kind to yourself. And when it comes to others, I do find that I can only extend the kindness and love to others that I extend to myself.
100% agree. 100% agree. Yeah. I found myself being very critical and judgmental. And sometimes I can be as well. Not all the time. I tend to be more kind. But yeah, no, I 100% agree with that.
Yay. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Bitch Call Your Sponsor.
Call your sponsor.
Call you sponsor. Call you sponsor. Call you sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor.
New episode tomorrow. Send us an email, bcysponsor@gmail.com.